Hey everybody, okay, so about the food stamp benefits. This lady that I want to video brings up some points that I want to touch on. Not this lady. Not this lady. This lady.
The Trump supporters, I would like for you to know and understand that for the month of November and probably December, there will be no SNAP benefits. Okay? There will be no EBT, there will be no food stamp benefits for the month of November. And with that being said, there will also be no Medicaid. And then, I'm also hearing, just hearing through the grapevine, hearing through the streets was talking, that military healthcare is down right now. And they can't explain why. They can't explain why.
I want to pause that for a second. Medicaid and military spending down. They can't explain why. You want to know why? Check out Biden's administration. That's why. And this whole thing about your kid's gonna be home in November, you're not gonna have any food. I'm gonna show y'all something, okay? I'm gonna show y'all something, okay? This gets given out by a food bank. Look, this package of pork chops was $1. Is it close to the expiration date? Yeah. What you do is you freeze it, then you pull it out, thaw it, and immediately cook it. That's a meal. Now, my freezer's not packed full. It's not. My refrigerator's a hot mess. Okay? But guess what? My family eats. I got a lot of rice and pastas, a lot of soups and canned goods that are cheap that you buy. Now, the whole idea of Thanksgiving is to be grateful for what you have. The whole idea of Thanksgiving is to be thankful, to be with your family, and to be thankful for what you have. Not piss and moan about the government and what they're not giving you. Okay? Now, for those people that go, well, you don't get food stamps, you can't possibly understand. It's not true. You see, I have received food stamps in the past. Matter of fact, I have an interesting story. When my husband was an iron worker, okay? He's a union iron worker. Unfortunately, sometimes that meant that we had lean times because he would be laid off or whatever. We applied for food stamps. I had the food stamp caseworker literally tell me while I was in her office, embarrassed to be applying because my husband hated that fact. She told me that they would not be able to help me unless my husband and I were to divorce, because then they would be able to look at me as a single mother with no income. That's how they offered to help. Okay? That is because we got people like this that's not like this specific lady, but people like that get $1,700 a month in food stamps and sells them to get their hair and lashes done or so forth.
Okay, it's down right now, and they can't explain why.
Because there was corruption on the Democratic side. By the way, this is the Schumer shutdown for a reason. This is not on Donald Trump. Yes, he could make this all go away by demanding them work together or whatever, I'm sure. But it's all the Democrats. The Democrats, look at Hakeem Jeffries. Look who he's endorsing for mayor of New York City. That should tell you what the Democrats care about. They don't care about us, the American citizens. Oh, no, no.
You know, for all the supporters out there, how many of you receive food stamps to feed your children? Next month will be Thanksgiving. They will be out of school for what, a week? Your kids are going to be out of school for a week with no food.
But here's the difference. My kids will be out of school with food because I smart shop, which means I buy things that I know that will last, like canned goods, pastas, rices, and you can make a lot of different meals with those. A lot of different meals. Mac and cheese. You don't have to feed your kids a bag of seafood shrimp or seafood salad or whatever. You don't have to go out and buy T-bone steaks. You can buy ground beef and make a lot of meals. I usually buy the big pound bags of ground beef, the family packs of ground beef. I'll buy 2 of those usually, and then I split them up. I'll buy the big family pack and I'll split it into 4 or 5 packs of ground beef. That's 4 or 5 meals right there. Okay? It's called smart shopping. It's called using coupons, using your Price Plus points, using whatever points you get at whatever store. It's called being smart about things and not blowing it. Let's be honest, they're not upset that they're not going to have turkey. They're upset that they're not going to be able to buy Doritos and Coca-Cola and all these other junk food items that they normally would purchase. I saw a lady who said that her daughter's birthday is in November and that she uses her food stamps to buy her a little cake. Now, one, that's not what your food stamps were meant for. 2, how about don't have a kid if you can't afford to take care of it? My husband would go to work 5 days a week as an iron worker and then would do side jobs, side construction jobs on the side on the weekends because we wanted to make sure we had enough for Christmas. Okay? So it's called using your brains, using the economy to your advantage without taking advantage of the system.
You're going to have a Thanksgiving with no food. How's that? And then all of the supporters who were in the military and were serving this beautiful country that you love, you won't be getting any help next month. Oh, you probably are getting it now. I forgot. They don't know what's wrong with it, and they can explain what's wrong with it.
But guess what? They are getting paid because the president robbed Peter to pay Paul, so he could pay the military. But you see, these people don't care about that. No, they don't care that the men and women that are serving our country. That's got nothing to do with food stamps. So why would you even bring the military into it? They will get theirs. And what people are failing to realize is what the president said was that there would be a delay in benefits. Delay. Not that you were going to get them taken away forever. That there would be a delay. And guess what? You also get all of that back. So let's say the government opens up in January, early January. You would get all of November benefits, all of December benefits in the month of, and January's benefits in that month. So you get it all back. Anyway, my point is this. Wherever the money came from Trump paying the military for the month of October, November, December, whatever. The point is supposedly on Channel 7 News, they made a thing where it was one of Trump's friends that donated $130 million, and they're looking in to see if a private citizen could even do that. I don't know the story. I didn't see it. My husband did. He just told me about it. But, so I don't know if that's a factual thing or not. But I will tell you this. However they got paid, they got paid. And they got nothing to do with the food stamps being cut for November and December. Now, the thing about it is, what people, and by the way, I want to give a shout out to Gag with Geech on YouTube. Show them the love, show them the support. give him the subscribe, give him the like. That's where he brings us these clips from. TikTok and all over the universe. If you want to check out these people, check them out on TikTok because they're all over TikTok crying the blues about the food stamps being cut. One lady said she makes $10,000 a month from state assistance. $10,000 a month. I wish somebody would just give me 10 grand a month. This is what we're dealing with. People like this mentality. This woman who lives in Michigan, I guess, literally has been living off the system forever since she's been on her own. And she drives a brand new car, has 6 kids, and expects the taxpayer to take care of her and her kids. As she said, it is the taxpayer's responsibility to take care of me and my 6 kids. Last I checked, it's not. Because when I was growing up, I was told that you had to work for what you got. Nothing in this world is free. That you have to earn it. And yes, there have been changes done to the food stamp program where you need to prove that you are either working at minimum 20 hours a week, which is considered part-time work, and or volunteering at your local pet store or wherever you volunteer, Wheels for Meals or whatever it is, and all these other places that need volunteers. You volunteer your time for 20 hours a week. People are even bitching about doing that. Now, am I saying it's perfectly easy to get a job? No. I live rurally and I have 1 vehicle. So if I want to work, I have to walk to wherever I work because my daughter uses her car to go to college because that's more important than me walking or driving to a store to work for 8 hours. Her education is more important. So my husband and I know this. So we are being very frugal when it comes to spending because we know that neither of us are working, so we have no income coming in right at this moment, and we have a college-age kid. So we are using our savings and doing what we have to do to survive. That being said, would we love to just sit around and have somebody else give us 10 grand a month to do nothing? Oh, yeah, we would love that. Does that happen? No. Now, at least it shouldn't happen. Now, the thing about it is when I was raising my children, when they were young, we instilled the values that you don't jump around in relationships too quick from one to the other, to the other, to the other, and have kids that you cannot afford. It's called birth control. Now, that being said, 3 of my kids do not have kids because they are not ready for kids. And they know this. 1 child has kids. That's the point. And does she have a lot? No, she has 3 children. So I am the grandmother of 3. And we help her as much as we can with what we have. Because that's what families do. You help each other out. Maybe a bunch of y'all shouldn't have disowned your families for voting for Trump. Because the only people that I hear bitching about this is the liberal people that were literally pitching a fit and having meltdown after meltdown when Trump got elected. The little nose bull ring thing with the blue hair crazy person. Yeah, those people. The people that don't want to work, the people that want to abuse the systems, because there's a lot of those. What I feel bad for, I don't feel bad for those people. I feel bad for the people that really need the help. there are little old ladies that buy cat food. I'm going to tell y'all a story. It's a story time, okay? I'm going to tell y'all a little story. When I was about, I'd say 16. Yeah, something like it. 16 or 17. I don't remember. I was a teenager, though. I was still living at home with my mama and my daddy. There was a little old lady that lived next door to us. Sweetest lady in the world. I got my first job working at a grocery store as a checker, as a bagger. So I was bagging her groceries. And I knew her because she lived next door to us. And I see canned cat food. I'm like, you don't have cats. Why are you buying cat food? And then I realized this lady was eating this cat food. This is her dinner that she's buying because she can't afford real food. You want to know what I did? I went around mowing lawns and got, I think it was like $100. And then back in that time frame, $100 was a lot of money. It went a lot further than it does today. And I went over and I told my mom what I was doing. My mom was very proud of me, of course. But, and I went because this lady was very stubborn. God bless her. She was very stubborn. She did not want any help. So what I did is I went to the store and with my mom's help, and I purchased a bunch of groceries, like normal groceries, meats, potatoes, onions, vegetables, milk, everything a person should need. And I put it in grocery bags. I took it to this lady's house and I knocked on her door, left the grocery bags on the ground, and dipped behind the bush. She saw the groceries. She looked around and she had tears in her eyes and was crying because somebody was kind enough to do something like that. You don't see that in today's society. What you hear is 22-year-olds, 24-year-olds, 30-year-old women getting on TikTok. It's the taxpayers' responsibility to take care of me and mine. What? No. It is not anyone's responsibility to take care of your children other than you. If you lay down with any man and you have a baby, that baby is your responsibility, yours and that man's responsibility. I had a woman on one of my other videos who literally said that she had 7 kids from 6 different baby daddies, She has 7 kids, all different dads. None of these kids had the same father. I'm sorry, she's a hoe. Straight up. There's no other way to put that. God did not put you on this planet for you just to lay down with man after man, have a kid after. He did not want you to go out and multiply the earth. Okay? It is not solely the responsibility of that lady. And I say that because this lady literally sat there. If one of my children came to me and told me that she had 7 different kids from 7 different babies, I would beat my child's bottom. I would beat her ass. If my daughter came to me and said, let's pretend for a moment that I hadn't seen my kid in a year or quite a few years. And then she came and she had all these kids and she said, they're all different dads. I would strangle her. I would beat her bottom. There is no way you should be allowed to reproduce willy-nilly when you can't even take care of that child. If you cannot afford to raise a child, do not have said child. Do we not understand this? It's not complicated. Okay? Kids cost money. Not just baby money. I'm talking 18, 26, 30 years worth of your life money. Because if you think that they get to a certain age and they go, that's it, thanks for the help, we're done. No. I still to this day have my daughter calling me, Mom, I need this. And I don't have it this week. And I send them what I can. My daughter is 30 years old. It never ends. Your children do not ever grow up and stop asking for money unless they actually can take care of themselves. And my daughter busts her butt to take care of her kids. You know what I mean? She busts her butt. And I'm not saying stuff doesn't happen. There's women that are in relationships and they have kids and then their husbands become abusive and they leave and then they're a single parent or their husband leaves them. I'm not saying situations like that don't happen. What I'm saying is when it happens, you don't just then jump immediately into another relationship and have another kid. I waited. I met my husband. My husband was first introduced to my cousin. And my cousin was playing a game and kept throwing him and I together because she was still seeing her husband, who she was still legally married to. But she still wanted to hold on to the guy that became my husband just because. Now, what ended up happening is when you throw two people together pretty consistently, and now get this, they weren't actually in a relationship. They were not exclusively together. Okay? And anytime she was with her husband, I was with him because I was distracting him from her. That was my job, she said, to distract Vinny so she could see Bob and be with Bob. Well, he found out the truth, Vinny did, and he said, you know what? I'm not getting involved in this. I'm stepping out of it. And he told her, you do what you got to do, but I'm not involved in that anymore. He and I then start dating. We ended up getting married because we fell in love. We started out as friends. We literally started out as friends, started dating, moved in, lived together for a whole year, then got engaged, then lived together again for a whole nother year before we tied the knot. And then we did not have a child until we bought our first home and moved into that home. That's how things should be done. Now, the throwing in and everything else, when my daughter left her first husband, and then she immediately jumped into another relationship, I let her have it. I said, how do you know anything about this man? I said, how could you possibly know it? You don't know him. You just started dating him, and then you're telling me you're getting married? Like, they had been fighting back and forth, back and forth. She couldn't stand him. He couldn't stand her, the whole 9 yards. Then the next following weekend, and this is how fickle people are sometimes. The next weekend, she calls me and tells me I'm married. I'm like, whoa, what? Are you crazy? I freaked out on her. And now, 5 years later, she's on her way to divorce court because she didn't listen to her mother, who actually had wisdom about these kind of things. I told my daughter, you don't just jump into another relationship. I told you that before, didn't I? I told my daughter, you don't just have a kid with a guy just because. They don't listen. And then what happens? You can't say I told you so, because that's not ever okay. I mean, literally, I said to her when she called me up and then told me she was pregnant with my granddaughter, I was like, God, that was stupid. That was my first response. Damn, that was stupid. She got mad, didn't talk to me for like a week. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't be happy for you when you're in a situation that you're putting yourself in. That's a terrible situation. You're married to a man that you don't know. You're having a kid with a man that you don't know. Well, now you know him, obviously, as much as you can out of 4 years or whatever. And then what happens? He starts drinking. And he gets abusive. Why? Because she didn't know him. And did she listen to her mommy? No, she did not listen to me. And look what happened. And can mom then go back and say, I told you so? No. Mom just has to go, well, gee, I hope you learned your lesson this time. Therein lies the problem. Therein lies the point. Most Gen Xers will tell their children, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. Most of their children don't listen and do what they want to do anyway. And then when it turns out bad, you can't say, I told you so. Oh, no. But whatever happened to just listening to your parents? Just like these nut jobs, and I do mean nut jobs, that quite literally will sit there and say to their families, I'm no longer going to be around you because, like, when Trump got elected, I saw video after video of these people disowning their families, their mothers, their fathers, disowning their mothers and fathers so much. Why would you stuff this? Sorry, I'm trying to get my mail, and unfortunately, the mailman decided to stuff this into my mailbox. Ay. All right, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, the point is that, how about this, millennials? Listen to your parents. Take their advice. Because the Gen Xers know what the hell they're talking about. The boomers are too busy trying to protest for a cause that they know nothing about. And, yeah. So that's how it goes. So, and I have nothing against the boomers. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are boomers. But I definitely don't want I definitely don't want my kids having kids that they can't take care of. And therein lies the problem. When you need to rely on a government to take care of you and your family, that's never a good thing. Because they can flip like that, as you see, and say, well, you're not getting any benefits this month. You need to be able to take care of your own. And if you can't do that, then maybe don't increase the population of your household. Don't keep having kids that you can't feed. How about that? It's called birth control for a reason. It controls the birth rate. In other words, if you're a young woman and you don't want to have children, you have a form of birth control. And if you're a young man and you don't want to be a daddy too soon, you use birth control. And if you use birth control and you still do, now that's up to you and your family then at that point. But the one thing it's not up to the government, because it's not their job to take care of you. Okay? You should never rely on a system of government that can literally flip their switch in a split second and take away your food stamps cash assistance, or whatever you call it. They can flip their switch like that and take it all away. You should never rely on that. You should only rely on yourself and your family that you trust to help take care of you and yours. Good? Good. So people out there complaining that they're not getting their food stamps, please chill it out. And no stealing. Why are you threatening to steal? You're going to steal from somebody who paid for their grocery? Because that's what they're doing. They're literally threatening that they will go in the store. If their card doesn't work, they're just going to take somebody else's groceries, or they're just going to walk out the store with the groceries. You do that, the only people your kids will have are any relatives that step up to take care of them while you're in jail. Because that's disgusting. You don't need turkey. You need food, but you don't need turkey, stuffing, and gravy, and ham, and all these fixings to have a good holiday with your family. Because the point of the holiday is to be thankful for what you do have, that you earned. You get my point? Okay, well that's it for now. Like and subscribe. Don't forget, I'll be back later with more. Peace out. God loves you. And remember, folks, live by the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. Because life is really too short for all this nonsense. Peace out. Don't forget, hit that like, hit that subscribe. It really helps me out. And thank you again to all my new subscribers. I love you all. Thank you for hanging with me. Soon we will get to 80 and we will get a live going. We're almost there. We got 55 people. We just need a few more and then we're going to go live and we'll have lots of fun doing it. Peace out, Cub Scouts. I'll catch you on the flip.